This is gonna be me explaining the spiritual and even physical side to this whole situation right here. This is kind of what I've been talking about on this channel, and even when I was still doing the evidence channels for years now. Especially when it comes to the Cash for Kids system, since that's more what this channel is about. And this plays into a couple parts of the Cash for Kids system. For one, the exploitative side. Because, like, these interviews, not only has the kid victim, one of them anyway, been interviewed, which is the one that really blew up, but also this girl has, of course, been thrown to the Cash for Kids system, the CPS part, and then sent back to her abuse situation. And also her mom recently got her thrown to the juvenile justice system part of the Cash for Kids system. I don't even remember what it was about. I think it has something to do with the fact that, like, she had fell into prostitution since her mom did. And of course, like I covered in the video, like a whole year plus ago, kid victims are always charged with CP or whatever. And of course, child molesters, they're not going to go to jail and get charged because the lawyers, judges, PO officers, all those people, they are child molesters and they don't like to charge or arrest their own kind. Not to mention, the judges and lawyers, and even police officers are Freemasons, and so what falls under that would also be the KKK. Because people talk about how, like, they're KKK, but they won't talk about how the KKK is just another branch of Luciferianism under Freemasons, and also all that is actually under the pagan Roman Catholic Church, because that's what it branched off of. And I know some people will say Freemasonry started in Egypt or something. Freemasonry is a European continuation of the ancient Egyptian religions, which really was just the universal religion, which Catholicism means universal. That's a whole nother topic. Still, my point is, lawyers and judges don't like to arrest their own kind, and they're messed up people themselves. And that's my point with that, before I end up somewhere else.
Tania, you're back.
I'm back for you.
Not for me.
I was on your head on YouTube. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like,
And by the way, this is an exploitative channel that's been going on for years now. And I would say I don't even think I could say that. I was going to say he's almost as bad as the Marcus dude from Atlanta Street Interviews, but nah. I can't say that. The pedophilic stuff, he said the Nova, that was pretty bad and close to, like, Atlanta Street Interviews, but nah, I can't say he's as bad as that.
online.
Okay, wait a minute. My phone had turned off because I always forget to change my screen timeout settings when I use a screen recorder.
I was like, Mark, but I had to look at everything. I only was mad because I was fighting the case. You know when
So she starts off like this. For one, the whole look she has going on right now is signs of, like, being under Marine Kingdom beauty standards, which is pushed on women a lot these days, but definitely over the quote-unquote black community, specifically the Hebrew ones, because, I mean, like, everywhere is going pretty downhill, but yeah, so, for one, I know it definitely goes back to, like, our ancestors falling into paganism, but also during the slave trade with the buck-breaking form of trauma-based mind control and Willie Lynch Center form of trauma-based mind control, around that time, there's also a point where the group of Europeans that actually ran the slave trade, they had also put curses on us that, like, revolved around promiscuity and Marine Kingdom demons. Now, of course, people really just need to take accountability and repent to stop passing along these generational curses of the Jezebel, leviathen, and other marine spirits that cause quote-unquote narcissism. Because the thing is, narcissism is a generational issue. It's also kind of like a principality over America in general. Well, really the principality over America is a Jezebel spirit, which is one of the spirits in narcissism. But really being a quote-unquote narcissist or narcissistic is considered normal these days. It's normal to not have empathy and to lack emotions and sympathy and all that. But yes, a generational issue. It's also a societal issue. And people really just need to take accountability and repent and like turn from the reprobate mind that they've given themselves over to. Because the thing is, sure, this like comes from trauma, but getting to this point, this is about what strongholds you let yourself, well, what strongholds you gave yourself over to and created in your own head to get to the point of having a victim complex and becoming what I call a schizonarc, which I talk about in a couple videos. I'll try to like link the video where I really think I go into detail on that. And then after that, after getting the schizonarc complex, as I call it, from having a victim complex, you eventually go into reprobate mind, and then you get like this. And yeah, this is the effects of Marine Kingdom spirits and a couple other ones, but that's like the main one over quote unquote narcissism. Also, just how she looks right now, like the way she's dressed. That's Marine Kingdom beauty standards. The red wig, that's Ariel. That's what that is. The nails, Marine Kingdom beauty standard. The booty shorts. Anytime somebody has their butt out in any way, form, or fashion, whether they're male or female, you know something's going on. And that's an issue. In fact, there was this joke I made once. I don't even remember if it was on here or back when I was doing the evidence channels, but I was like, when a place gets to the point where everybody's walking around with their butt out, you know that they're at their end. So yeah, there's that. Probably something else I could say.
I came from the last follow-up interview. I got into a situation with Children's Services, and I'm thinking it's because of my daughter. It wasn't even because of my daughter. It was just allegations of lies that people were saying. They knew, hey, my daughter is a runaway. I've been putting reports. The courts was like, yeah, we've seen this before. Like, it's not.
And this is really common for like kids to always get blamed for CPS reports that they're obviously not making. And 9 out of 10 CPS, even though they know who made the reports, they'll still side with abusers as their job is to do. And they'll blame the kid for making the report with the abuser.
Not really nothing that a parent that has been trying over and over for the past 2 years is you know, it's out of the parents' control once they hit the streets. So when I found out like all the allegations or whatever, the reason why my kids had got taken is because they couldn't find me. I was running from a DV relationship, you know, I kind of.
So for one, when she says the reason her kids got taken is because they couldn't find her, it makes you wonder, where were you at and where were your kids? Not that anything that she's saying is really even true anyway, but it just makes you wonder.
Talked about in my first one, like, you know, baby daddies will put their hands on you and they act like pimps, and they do. But since I don't go for
So the usual, I guess, insanity, because not that I like this dude whatsoever, but as Albert Einstein was quoted saying, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So she's fallen into the usual insanity and generational curse of fornication, babies out of wedlock, baby daddy bullcrap. Stuff that people don't want to take accountability for. And then they always want to blame the kid victims, as some people in the comments are doing. And that's the thing. All that is generational curses, reprobate mind, slave trauma bullcrap that people just want to keep pushing along. And yeah, so basically my point is, people don't see anything wrong, some people anyway, don't see anything wrong with what this lady has going. And so they rather blame the kid victim and say that the daughter is just out of control and needs quote-unquote discipline, which the discipline really is just code word for more abuse that would just cause her to have more trauma symptoms, which of course the Cash for Kids system will label off as being bad, crazy, or slow, and then all the mental labels you get in the Cash for Kids system are under the category of quote-unquote bad, crazy, and slow. So maybe you'll get the bad black kid with ADHD label or autism, ODD. Honestly, I know for a fact that the Cash for Kids system will probably give Nova an ODD label and an ADHD label, most likely. Because that's what they do.
That, and when you flee a domestic
I don't remember what else I was going to say, not going to lie.
relationship, a domestic violence relationship, they try to get you back in. And, you know, it's a lot of stuff going on. Like, I'm pregnant right now.
You're pregnant?
It's a lot.
How far along are you?
Yeah, I was really upset when I heard that. I was actually talking to some girl on Reddit, and somehow this situation got brought up. I think I brought it up. And then she was like, yeah, I had been watching those interviews, and Tania's pregnant again. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope not, or something like that.
About to be 6 weeks, basically. I just went to the doctor yesterday. I been knew that I was pregnant because I took a test, but
You're going to keep it?
I'm going to keep it because I was pregnant in January of this year. And when my kids got taken, I got an abortion because I felt like I need...
And then that's another thing. You get into the cycle of fornication, but then you also fall into the eugenics system of killing your kids, which were made to keep people like her from even existing. There's just so much I could say about that. It's all Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. Just people pushing on the same generational curses and whining and complaining about how nothing goes right in their life. I'm not even like talking about it as far as like quote unquote black people or Hebrews pushing on their generational curses, or any other people who would be like of the 12 tribes who don't fall under quote unquote black. I'm just saying, people in general, it's definitely a stronger curse over our communities or certain communities, but this is like a big issue these days in general, just because of the fact that agendas have been pushed on everybody to break down the family system, and it's a whole bunch of anti-family, anti-men, quote-unquote strong women, anti-kid agendas have been pushed. And of course, like I think I said in the video on here, or at least I did in some video, I had mentioned how like the breaking down of the family system and the eugenics agenda, like I can't say the name of the place because this video will get taken down. It may anyway, but I'm just gonna say PP with well, I can't say her name either. Can I say Sanger? I don't know if I can say that, but the clinic, I'll say that the clinic, that was also a part of like a racial agenda. And what I said in some videos that agendas that were first pushed under quote unquote racism was really just used to get the group of people who thought that they were benefiting from being quote unquote racist, for them to like accept this, what they're being, to accept what they're pushing on another group, so that way they'll subconsciously come into agreement with it, whatever the agenda is, like the anti-family agenda, for the same agenda to eventually be pushed on them. And if that didn't make sense, basically, quote-unquote white supremacy, at least, like, well, if I go into that, then maybe, try to not go on a rant. Basically, white supremacy, at least for the lower level white supremacists, not the one at the top, not the ones at the top that actually ran everything, but the lower level ones. For them to basically push an agenda on somebody else that going to eventually be pushed on them, and now has been pushed on them. And that's why you may see videos of quote-unquote white people getting on the internet saying the system isn't working for us anymore, because the thing is, the systems were never supposed to work for anybody. It was just a lie put in your face that the systems were always going to work for you while you walked all over other people, but it was all a game. A divide and conquer game, really, 'cause that's what that's really about. Or at least that's mostly what white supremacy is about anyway, divide and conquer.
To fight
really
for my other
racism in
kids.
general.
Like, it's always fighting for kids. Like, I realize that that's what the devil wants from me. And the devil ain't gonna get it, because these are God's children. I'm God's child, period, no matter what happens. But whatever, so.
How many kids?
Wait a minute, I think I missed something. Here, I forgot what in the world was last said. Hold up. Oops, I didn't mean to go back that far.
Pregnant because I took a test, but.
You're going to keep it?
I'm going to keep it because I was pregnant in January of this year. And when my kids got taken, I got an abortion because I felt like I need to fight for my other kids. Like, it's always fighting for kids. Like, I realize that that's what the devil wants from me. And the devil ain't going to get it.
Okay, I kind of forgot what she had said before this, but now that I just watched it over, this is another thing that can lead to quote-unquote schizophrenia. No, I'm not saying it's any one thing. I already have a video about this anyway, about the different things that could lead up to what's called schizophrenia. It's actually a spectrum. It, of course, goes back to trauma, but it can be caused by a couple of different things. But schizophrenia just means split minds. All mental illness is different forms of double-mindedness that comes from trauma, because trauma causes soul fractures and blah, 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 because I don't want this to become 20 minutes, and then I don't even, really get into the video, but I already have plenty of videos talking about that whole thing. But yeah, so all mental illness is different forms of double-mindedness. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so 1 minute she's okay with getting an abortion, if I can even say that on here, but then the next minute she's like, but I'm keeping this one because these are God's kids. So one thing that I already said in another video, which I think was the one where I was talking about this lady who wanted to throw her 4-year-old into the Cash for Kids system and get him labeled as schizophrenic over some stupid stuff. I think it was that video. I mentioned how there's this term they're using now called dark empaths. And I know people are going to flip out, but if anybody even watches this, because probably nobody will, but it kind of is true, though, that some quote-unquote narcissists or people with the Jezebel, leviathen, and other spirits, which honestly a lot of people have leviathan, but depending on what rank the spirit has, that depends on if you're like a full-blown narcissist or how bad of a quote-unquote narcissist you are. So a lot of these people, or at least some of them, are actually people who were anointed, but all their trauma messed them up, and then they didn't deal with it how they should have, and then they went over into a reprobate mind, because really that's all being a quote-unquote narcissist is going into a reprobate mind and a victim complex, which that goes hand in hand anyway. And so then it's like, sometimes you can even tell with some narcissists that they had a calling on their life that they're not living in, and they let themselves turn into a reprobate mind, and now they're acting like this. But no, that's not even what I was really supposed to say first. That was supposed to be like a third thing. What I was supposed to say first is that with the schizophrenia thing, you can tell somebody who either is in one of the forms of what I call a schizonarch, or, well, no, not even really that, but quote-unquote schizophrenia, or like somebody who's about to get in there, because sometimes for one type of what I call being a schizonarch or whatever, it's like they believe in God 1 minute, but the next minute they don't. Those people are very double-minded, and they also commonly may have a spirit of religion, and they can either go into quote-unquote schizophrenia or just being a schizonarch, as I call it, which revolves more around narcissism, but as you may know, there's a spectrum of schizophrenia where, like, the person is kind of rude or quote-unquote self-centered and narcissistic because a victim complex makes you say me, and along with the reprobate mind you develop and the double-mindedness, it can get really bad to, like, the point where you have the type of schizophrenia where you feel like everybody's worried about you. So, like, I seen this video from this lady whose videos I used to watch every now and then, where one day she was on this city bus and the police were, like, driving down the road or something, and she was like, yeah, the police are driving down the road because they're after me because this dude she had a learning session with, she believed that, like, he was mad at her or something. He was sending people after her and a whole bunch of stuff that I can't really remember. I haven't even watched one of her videos in years, but basically she felt like everything was about her, and that's considered schizophrenia, but really I call that, like, the end of the schizophrenic spectrum where you're, like, bleeding into narcissism, and I call it a form of being a quote-unquote schizonarc. So yeah, anyway, that's what she has going on. It's like she wants to live this life of sleeping around and being demonized with the Jezebel spirit and other spirits and terrorizing her kids, but then she likes to try to, like, act like she's living in her calling, even though she's into prostitution, which actually, I should mention this. I mentioned this in the video I made about different things that can cause schizophrenia too. So, as you may know, like I mentioned in this video titled The Effects of Molestation on the Soul or something like that, all forms of sex outside a marriage covenant is a demonic ritual. But I mean, even if you're married and you're, like, committing sodomy, which is anal and oral sex, then that's a ritual too. Or if the person's way too young for you, or if they're the same gender as you, which that actually wouldn't really be a marriage, because for a marriage to stand, as far as, like, the laws in the spirit realm or the universe, it has to be between one man and one woman, not a woman and some child, nothing like that, or someone who's the same gender. So yeah, anyway, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, so when you have sex with somebody, I already said the whole demonic ritual thing outside the marriage covenant, but also you get soul ties. So that means you're married in the spirit realm. So, like, even if you break up with the person, you'll always be thinking about them, even if you haven't seen them in years. And when they're sad, you're sad. Just like how when somebody's married, due to, like, the effects it has in the spirit realm. Because marriage, basically anything that happens in the physical realm has to happen in the spirit realm first. That's why in the occult or in Satanism, they have as above, so below. And then if you believe in Yahweh, it's on earth as it is in heaven. That's two of the same things. The other one's a perverted version. But they both stand and they're both true. Because things have to happen in the spirit realm before in the natural realm. So, or at least, well, really, the point is, if it happened in the physical realm, it also happened in the spirit realm. So, like, if you have sex with somebody and you get a soul tie, then you're married to them in this realm and in the spirit realm, which is tied to your soul. So that's why, even if you're, like, actually married, the husband can, like, feel when the wife is pregnant. So, like, when the wife is pregnant, the husband can get sick. Hopefully this is making sense. I really hope it is. I really hope all my videos make sense, really. But like I said before, I do have brain damage and I can sound like Joe Biden sometimes, but I really want this to make sense. So, yeah, then when you have sex with somebody, you can also get sexually transmitted demons, or basically a spiritual transference, as some people call it. So whatever spirits that are in them go into you. And there's so much I could say about that. And then their DNA goes into you, your DNA goes into them, and you guys will like pass the parts of your personality to each other. And so my point of saying all that is prostitution is another quick way to losing your mind or becoming quote-unquote schizophrenic, because for one, it gives you a whole bunch of personalities from different people, and two, it's a demonic ritual, and three, you have a whole bunch of soul ties from different people, and also the spiritual transference or sexually transmitted demons, if I didn't already say that part. So that's another reason she's messed up. Just like how the ritual of molestation can give you DID because of the effects that it has on the soul and the fact that this causes soul fractures. Really, I mean, all trauma does, but sexual abuse is really serious. That's why it was done as a form of trauma-based mind control and buck breaking, and that's why they do it in SRE sex trafficking. It's also called Virgo Vasal. That's usually what it's referred to in SRE sex trafficking, but in slavery it was called buck breaking, but they're all similar forms of trauma-based mind control.
Because
also, by the way, none of this is an excuse for anything that she's doing or that anybody's doing who's abusing people. It's just the truth of the matter or the spiritual side, but you really have to like have control over how you let yourself get and what type of spirits you allow to like take over you and what strongholds you let into your mind. Which, if I didn't say this already, a stronghold is argument in your mind that keeps you from being delivered / set free. So one of her strongholds is that she's a victim and nothing's ever her fault. How long is this? Is this even still recording? Not really. Dang, wait a minute. I hope this. Oops. Dang, wait a minute. I really hope this is still recording. Because my phone screen is broke, so like I can't even really see the screen because there's this huge black line going across the screen. It's actually gotten way bigger now to think about it. I didn't even realize that. Dang, this is 23 minutes and I haven't even got 1 minute in. Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna have to... Dang. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a part 2. I don't know how in the world.